Good morning, traders. Today is Thursday, September 29th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream where we talk about the ES and the NQ and how they trade, looking at it with market profile. All right, well, what are we looking at here today? Color me shocked. What's that? The overnight couldn't hold the breakout of balance? What's that? We pulled back down into the balance area? If only that was predictable. All right, so basically what happened yesterday, we have what I believe is a balance area right now in the market. And yesterday in the overnight, they tested that market lower. And then we came back up and re-entered that balance area during the regular trading hours. Re-entering the balance area triggered a move from one end of balance to the other. Okay, and then we tried to break out above the balancing area high. Okay. Oh, actually, my overnights are messed up. So yesterday, we tried to break out above that balance area high, and we failed to do so. Then the overnight pulled us back in. What do you suspect is the next thing the market's going to do? It failed to go lower here. Pulling back in triggered a move to the opposite end. What do you suppose failing to break out here and pulling back in will do? It's going to trigger a move to the opposite end. So I am bearish this morning to try to test the overnight lows and then monitor for continuation there. So for the market to open, head down and test these lows. If we find support there and turn around and head back up, that's fine. But more likely we find resistance and then we head down to test the balance area low, to test these areas around yesterday's low. The thing about it is we're right smack dab in the middle of a balance area, right? We're literally right in the middle of the balance area and we're right smack dab in the middle of yesterday's range. So of course it's going to be, wherever it goes, it's going to be incredibly choppy. It's going to be one of those days where if it does start to head lower, it's going to make you think it's about to turn around and head up over and over and over again. And then randomly later in the day, you just find yourself down there at the opposite end of balance. So I am expecting to be a very tricky feeling morning, a very choppy and difficult sort of environment to look for entries. But I do believe the highest probability is to test that balance area low, which is at 36.64. So yeah, I would describe myself as bearish, but planning for it to be a very rough ride, a very choppy ride. Okay, exact same thing on the NQ here. Tried to break out of balance yesterday, failed. Overnight pulled us back into balance. Highest probability is that we're going to test the opposite end of balance, which would be right around yesterday's lows, 11.274. But exactly the same as the ES, you're right smack dab in the middle of a balance area. So it's probably going to be a very choppy trip down. Charles, were there any clues yesterday to the fact that they were going to fail to break out of balance? Yes, one clue was all the weakness we left behind. All right, we left a lot of weakness behind, single prints that were untested and 3-week references. Oftentimes, if a market is ready to break out of balance, it'll have cleaned up some of those weaknesses. So it may have come down, repaired those, then it tries to break out. So when there's a ton of weakness left behind inside the balance area, you know it's probably still bouncing, which the overnight told us we are. Also, spike rules are in play today. We had a spike up yesterday. Opening below the spike is the least bullish scenario. So balance rules and spike rules are in agreement. And the market is open. So I am looking for support right here around 36.88 in this little node of cumulative volume right here. If that breaks, I will instantly become bearish for a test of the overnight low because of the balance area. And resistance above is at 37.06. Good morning to Caffeine, John Lash, Knapp, Ryan, David Glass. Good morning from Orlando, Florida. Okay here from the hurricane. Oh, man. Is there a hurricane? Glad you're doing good. And your internet's still working, so that's good. Can make that money, honey. T-Wark is here. Mark is here. Malcolm, good morning to you. Thank you to all the participants in last night's book club. For me, it was well worth the time. I agree. I had a great time. I'd love to hear from anybody who was watching on YouTube. Nobody from the YouTube made any comments the whole time. Was it boring for you guys just watching other people have a conversation? All right, so we're testing this support. Like I said, if this doesn't hold, I'm pretty confident we're testing that overnight low. Okay, and I'm bearish to test that overnight low. So as I'm expecting chop and I'm expecting things to be very difficult, I will remain bearish below that resistance I just mentioned up there at 37.06. As long as we're below that, I will remain bearish. Good morning, fighter pilot. Chilling with Dylan. RK Leon, Blue Shirt, The Shaw, Laser Eye, Chop Fan, Scooball, Chris. So you define support and resistance by trading volume. What time frame is the orange histogram? It's like the last 100 days or so. Last 190 days. But yeah, it's just wherever previous volume has traded. You can look at the cumulative. You can also just kind of look at the last few days, right? You can see areas where, you know, we traded a lot of volume in the overnight. We traded a lot of volume yesterday. You can expect resistance there. But yeah, those high volume nodes tend to be the most reliable. Other than market profile references like the base of single prints, which also are very reliable for support. At the very least, just for a bounce, and then we'll see what happens. Good morning, Jeremy Jones, Kevin, Design Knob. Will we end up in the septic tank? It's very possible. You know, we're going to test the balance area low today. If it holds, we'll probably just have a boring sideways day. But if it breaks, we could be starting a new trend. Straight into the septic tank. Novice Trader said he watched it on YouTube. He enjoyed it. Well, that's good. Stan, why was that support? I assume you're talking about the base of the single prints. It actually still hasn't been tested. We're a point away. I tick away. Why is it? Because that's where a change in the market happened, right? The market was having two-sided trade here. And right at this level, something changed. What was it? Who knows? We don't need to know, but we just know at this level, at 37, 70, 50, something changed in the market. And it started to make a big move to the upside, and it never had to come back down to test that level again. So there are likely people willing to do business at that level who just never got a chance. So guess where those orders are sitting and waiting today? Right there. So it comes back down, it taps it, it acts as support temporarily, and then you give a chance for new sellers to come in and break it. What's the overnight low? 36.73.50. It's right here. Macvin said he also watched on YouTube, hadn't read the book. It was very good. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it, man. One idea that came up in conversation during the book club last night was doing something similar, like a Zoom call where, you know, anybody from the brigade who wants to jump in can do it. And we just chat about some of the like hardships of trading. That's kind of what the conversation ended up devolving into. It was like how difficult trading is and us kind of comparing notes. And it was a bit cathartic. You know, it's kind of nice to know you're not alone. So maybe we'll have to have a brigade bitch session Zoom call where we can all just talk about how hard trading is. and of course, encourage each other. Group therapy. Yeah, I guess that's what they call it. Nap, I'm so glad to hear it. Well, awesome. All the more reason to do it again next month. Colin Stockaholics Anonymous. There you go. We've already got a name. All right, so there's the test of the overnight low. If we get resistance here, the next target is testing the balance area low at 36.64, and then seeing how the market reacts once it gets down here. We should get some kind of a bounce, you know, to at least head up and test the halfback here sooner or later. We are in a chop zone after all. Okay, so just like clockwork, back to the previous balance area. Tried to take the market lower, couldn't do it, headed up to the opposite end. Tried to take the market higher, couldn't do it, headed to the opposite end. There is no question this is definitely a balance area. So now moving forward, we have very good targets. So if here today, right now, we get support and we start to head back up into the overnight range, we can target going right back up to the balance area high. But if we get resistance here and we start to break out lower, it could be the beginning of a new trend. So things could get very bearish. It is also worth noting, I was expecting a lot of chop today. I was expecting a very slow grind lower, and instead we've been trending lower. So the market, built up resistance, pushed lower, built up resistance, pushed lower, resistance, pushed lower. This is how a trend starts. So things are getting very bearish here. Yeah, they're getting more bearish. Because if they wanted another balance day, they should be finding support now. And they're not even trying. Ticks are still below negative 1,000. So there are no buyers in this market. And often when there are no buyers, we have to take the market to lower prices to look for them. Screwball would be nice to get a pullback. Yeah. It's one of those catch-22s, though. Let's say you get the pullback to halfback right now. Are you looking for resistance to sell there for the breakout? Or are you going long for the opposite end rotation? I'm sorry, the balance to the opposite end. And what do you do if it just grinds and grinds and grinds right here, trying to make up its mind? Screwball bounce area low could be around 36.35. That is true. I'm, of course, just guessing that it's at 64. Design Hub told you yesterday, one green day out and of the past 9, now back to the cesspool. Yeah, but to be fair, you say that every day. You start every day with whether we're trending higher or not. We're going to visit Pappy. So people aren't going to listen to your bearish calls if they're just always bearish. Screwball, the high is much easier to recognize, but yesterday's spike was confusing. Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, it's not confusing, right? In hindsight, it was just we had to get ourselves a little bit overly long to pull it back down. But yeah, in the moment, it was very, very confusing. The people that were, watching the brigade yesterday know I was calling for this to happen, like in here. Like I was like ready for us to pull back down and head towards the opposite end of balance. And so when this started to happen, when we started to build the volume up here for continuation, I was so confused. But hindsight is 2020. It was just FOMO. It was just those emotional day traders getting themselves overly long, as they tend to do. Lamus, welcome. Good to see you. All right, NQ getting resistance at yesterday's low is a little bit bearish. It's also setting up for a breakout of balance, which is bearish. Four days of balance. If you break out, you would expect to have some excess. All right, so pulling back into balance, I am now going to take myself back to a neutral stance. As we've talked about, it can be very, very tricky when you're right at a balance area low, figuring out, is it going to get resistance and continue lower, or is it finding support to head back up to the opposite end? It will often grind and grind and grind and drive you absolutely mad trying to make a decision. So I'm done looking for shorts right now, and I'm instead focusing on what is the market doing. Who's winning the battle? Who's winning the tug of war? Is it the buyers or the sellers? If the buyers can get back inside the overnight range, I'll start to get bullish as a look below and fail. And if the sellers push back through this support right now at like 36.57, I will be bearish for continuation lower. But as long as it's chopping around in the middle here, I just got to wait and see, because anything is possible. Scooball, do you think that they move inside the balance area during overnight because it is easier and use liquidity from the day traders after it? There is probably some kind of mechanism like that at play. I don't understand it, though. My guess is it has something to do with nowadays, I would say, like in modern trading, I would say it has something to do with the algorithms that are designed to keep the market in a range. So what you notice, if you just want to have some fun, at 3:45, if you've got Bookmap software, at 3:45, just watch what happens to your software. Instantly, all this color that you see that's right around price all the time, all this little blue shading in, that will just instantly disappear. And this will become like black. And all that will be left is the large orange nodes. But all the little volume that you see in here, that will instantly disappear. What that is algorithms that are designed to like bracket the market. To basically, they sell as it pushes up, they buy as it pushes down, and they kind of just keep the market in a tighter range as it's moving around throughout the day. And so I think when you get something like that where the overnight makes the move, to me it feels like it's like the bots have decided this is the low, and so they're going to keep buying and buying and buying and buying, and so eventually it breaks. And if there's just less liquidity in the overnight, it would be easier to do that. But yeah, it's not anything that I would think is tradable. I mean, we could have just as easily rotated in the overnight. We could have just as easily just basically stayed in like this range. So how it got the momentum, I don't really know. Also, that's a pretty intense angle from the high. Not quite a 45, but a lot of resistance there. Scubal, like I know they are accumulating and distributing, but how? When? I know that's the hard part. They do not make it easy, particularly with timing. Lorenzo, do you think that yesterday's rally could be happening due to profit taking? Yes, some profit taking and some short covering, right? So what happens is everybody's super bearish 2 days ago, right? Opening prices up here. We tried to take the market higher. We couldn't do it. So everybody got super bearish and they just started selling and selling and selling, right? But then the overnight opened up here yesterday, right? So look at where a majority of the business took place 2 days ago. And then where did we open yesterday? Above that level. So all the shorts that were selling in here, looking for more further downside continuation, they're instantly screwed right from the open. And then the market dips lower and they're starting to feel better. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you know, I'm all right. The market's going to keep going lower. But then it comes right back up through the opening price. And then what happens? They freaking panic. So let's zoom right in and see what happens. As soon as we pass back through that opening price, what happened? The market shot straight up like a rocket and never came back down. Left all those single prints there. That move was shorts getting squeezed. So that was not necessarily people taking profits, but people like getting out at a loss who got in down here. And so it's like you get one set that pushes you up to here, and then another set that pushes you up to there, and another set that pushes you up to there. And then you start getting new buyers. You start getting people who are like, oh my God, this market's going to go up. You know, all the YouTube videos say, is the low in? Like, you know, and all of a sudden, then you get the FOMO buyers. And the FOMO buyers are always wrong. They're always getting in way too late. And so then the same thing happens to them. The market opens the next day. They're way below the price where they entered. So now they're panicking and they're freaking out. And they're thinking it starts to go up. They're like, okay, maybe it'll come back. And when it doesn't, boom, they get squeezed. So it's actually these sellers being wrong that got us up to this end of balance, and these buyers being wrong that got us down to this end of balance. And you might be surprised to learn it will happen over and over and over again, day after day after day, until one side finally gives up. And then the other side wins, and we break out. Okay, now that we're through that support, I am back to bearish once again as a potential breakout of balance. I'm now looking for what was support, 36.60, to become resistance. And that would be the overnight low for the NQ as well. We're looking for that to hold as resistance. Jackson, welcome. Thank you for the sub. Okay, pushing below yesterday's low is bearish. We're now looking for resistance at 36.52. Looks like they they actually absorbed the volume in the book map. Oh, yeah, I got to turn down the audio for my desktop. My bad. It's good for you, Cortman. It's good for the heart. Just kidding, it's not. Stress is really bad for you. All right. So now you're starting to get those panicked sellers, right? Those people who were buying, hoping for the market to find support. Now they're starting to get squeezed. We call that a liquidation. There's panic in the air, everywhere and all around. The bears are chomping down, and the bulls are running scared. I don't know how far down it's going, but I'll trust the trend from here until we get cessation. Bearish, I will. Okay, I'm lost. I tried. Yeah, I'm just kidding, Scooball. Take it easy. It's not trending. Okay, so they've repaired that weak reference. Is that enough to get some support here? To come back up and test yesterday's low for resistance? One Punch Panda, how do you know if it's a liquidation or not? Well, this is going to be a very unsatisfying answer, but you kind of don't. It's a guess. You just have to kind of learn from experience. So what it will be is there'll be an important level that breaks, right? Some kind of support or resistance. In this case, it was the previous day's low. And then the tempo will change very quickly. So the market might be slowly going lower. And then once it breaks through there, all of a sudden it starts falling very fast. That tempo change is a sign that you could be potentially starting to liquidate. The next thing you want to look for is the volume. Is it thin volume? Is it all just white candles coming down here, getting thinner and thinner and thinner the lower it goes? If it's doing that, it is likely just liquidating. And what a liquidation means is that it's not really bearish, right? It actually strengthens the market because it takes the weak hand buyers out. The people that are liquidating here, the people that are exiting out of fear, they were always going to exit out of fear. They were short-term traders. They weren't strong hands. So now that they're gone, they're out of the market. Who are the buyers that are buying in here? Well, they're going to be stronger hands buyers who are more likely to hold. So the next question is, does that happen? Does the liquidation break retrace itself? Is it able to push back up to whatever level it broke? If that's what it does, then it was nothing but a liquidation break and you just move on. Now, if it can't get back, if you get that fast tempo and the market starts to fall and then it can't retrace, that is new sellers piling on, which is very, very bearish. So it's kind of one of those things you got to take it one step at a time. The tempo tells you it might be happening. The volume confirms it is happening. And then whether it's able to retrace or not gives you a signal for what to expect moving forward. So for example, right now, I would describe this as a liquidation break with new money selling. So the initial fall was panic because we broke yesterday's low, but now there's new traders going short in here, which is bearish. Fighter pilot, I wish this market volatility would never go away. Bro, good news. It's not going away anytime soon. John, but sometimes new shorts coming in at lows can be bullish. It's what I see at Bitcoin. No, what you're seeing is squeezes, what I just talked about. So those sellers that are going short, at the lows, when the market retraces, they're getting squeezed, and that's what makes you think it's bullish, but it's not really bullish, right? It's sellers getting out of shorts, not new buyers going long. This is, I'd say, the key edge that I have in the market is trying to differentiate, and I'm not always right, but I'm right more than I'm wrong, trying to differentiate who the participants are. Is this a short-term trader that's going to instantly give up on this trade? Or is this a longer-term trader who's going to hold and let the market make a move? RK, I have a lot more globes on Bookmap. Yeah, I'm thinking about lowering my limit so I can get more of them. When I first started looking at it, I found them distracting, but now I'm starting to appreciate the value in them. So I'll probably lower my number. But right now I have it at 150 contracts. I'll probably just go ahead and make that 100 right now. RK, I had one. Yeah, I mean, there's no information in one contract, you know. Scott, my cat did it again. He's 3 for 3 this year in trades. He just closed out 40 shares of COP at almost 102 for a 4-handle trade. Well, it sounds like somebody earned some catnip. And how great is it that now as I'm reading your comment, I can see your face in my head. I know who I'm talking to. Hey, Scott. Sorry, Jess. Sorry. Mike, I found adjusting the transparency on them made them visible but not annoying. Oh, I never even messed with that. Huh. Yeah, I suppose partially transparent is good. Jeremy, what is the best way to trade one time framing since the move is already huge? Perspective, my friend. You have to zoom out to the daily, and you must ask yourself, what happens when the market breaks out of balance? Here's a day where it broke out of balance. Here's a day where it broke out of balance. Here's a day. Here's a day. Here's a day. Right? In all of these cases, you are at where the arrow is right now. You're at the very edge of balance, just starting to break out. So as long as it trends, if the C period breaks the P period low and it starts trending, there's no reason not to trust the trend. No reason at all. So where do you get in? You get in at resistance. Whenever, wherever, whatever it takes. If you wanted an overabundance of caution, you could wait for a test of 36.40, 48. or yesterday's low, you just might not get a chance. That's the thing about a trend. It just keeps building and going lower and building and going lower. And it's just like, fuck, get in. Clench your butt cheeks and just get in it, because you'll wait forever for that perfect, easy pullback. Lorenzo, you'd say that your trading course is enough to build a trading strategy from scratch? I 100% would, because my course is what I used to build a trading strategy 100% from scratch. So if it worked for me, it can work for you. Jeremy, should I look for resistance now or wait for the C period low? It's totally up to you, man. I can't tell you how to trade. I could tell you what I would do right now, but that might be the worst decision in the world for you, because your psychology is not the same as mine. So I can just tell you, with every trend, the longer you wait, the worse the chances the trade will work in your favor. If you want to make money off of trends, you have to get in them as soon as possible. It's the waiting is fine in rotation. As a matter of fact, sometimes waiting is your edge in rotation, but not in a trend. You must get in the trend, pucker up your butthole, and wait. Now, if you want to wait for the C period to break the B period and then get into the trend, you absolutely can. 100%. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just you might not get the same payout as if you got in earlier. Like, really, the time to get into the trend trade was when we broke the balance area low, right? We came down here, we found support, we tried to push back up, we spent some time grinding. When we broke through this resistance, that was where you go short. So that now all you're doing is chilling and just waiting to figure out when is the momentum over. Instead, right now, you're playing the game of trying to figure out when the momentum is over to enter. And it's going to be very, very hard. So as far as this moment today, my advice is the market is bearish. Sell resistance. When you sell, where you put your stop, how much you risk, these are decisions you must make. All right, so now we're looking to turn this node around 36.45 that was support into resistance. Mike and Chillin' with Dylan backing me up here. I can't stress how important finding your own strategy is. learn from Charles, but ultimately every person will need something different for their trading. Yeah, that's the point. The information that I share here only gives you an insight for what kind of trades to look for. Should I be going long or should I be going short? As far as where to enter those trades, what position size to use, where to put your stop, where to take profit, those sorts of trade ideas have to be 100% custom tailored to you and your psychology and your market understanding. They just won't work any other way. So, like, to put it into perspective, one trader could go short right now because if the market were to push back up towards yesterday's low, they would not panic out of it. They'd be happy to stay short as long as the market stays below yesterday's low because they just have confidence, and that confidence allows them the freedom to not get squeezed, to not get screwed, as long as we're below yesterday's low. But another trader might choose to go short right here, and then the market starts to trail its way back up, and when they get to 36.48, they start to panic, and they say to themselves, oh, I'm wrong, I got to get out of the trade. And so they exit at a loss right there. Well, then the market finds resistance, and it goes right where they were going to go, right? So trader A is guaranteed to profit off his idea that the market is going to continue to head lower. But in exchange for the guarantee of making profits if he's right is the added risk if he's wrong. He's going to have to lose all this. So the second trader might decide, okay, they can't handle that risk, and it's going to cause them to give free money to the market, to get squeezed out without their trade idea being wrong. So for that trader, they should put their entry up here with a much tighter stop, right? But now what is that trader getting? In exchange for a little bit of risk, they're potentially going to miss the trade altogether. The market could go lower without them. And the trade idea is the same. The trade idea is as long as we get resistance below yesterday's low, we're going to get continuation lower. The market-generated information is telling them both the same thing. How they act on it and what rewards they get as such is based on their personal psychology. This trader wants a guarantee and they're willing to take the risk. This trader is willing to give up on the guarantee to reduce the risk. Which trader are you? Okay, so now with the printing of the C period here, we've left behind some single prints from the B period. That slightly increases the odds the market will try to backfill them. And if it does, you'll look for resistance right at the base of those single prints, 36.53.50. What a coincidence. That is also right where yesterday's low is. So there would be a lot of resistance if the market is able to backfill those single prints, and you would look for continuation lower from there. If it doesn't backfill those single prints and it instantly heads down and breaks that B period low, that is a break of the initial balance and the beginning of a new trend lower, at which case we would just look at the previous TPO's high, and as long as we continue, each new 30-minute period stays below the high of the previous 30-minute, we'll assume it can keep going lower. Okay. The market is bearish. With that, I shall bid you farewell and wish you the best of luck. We'll see you all here tomorrow morning. Brigade members, just give me about 2 minutes. I didn't have time to set up the email this morning, so give me about 2 minutes and the email will be out, and then I will see you on the private stream. Thank you very much.